the AGF can take the lead. The bar, the Nigerian Bar Association, can also take the lead and, submit a private bill to the National Assembly for them to consider. So also the judiciary committees in both houses of the National Assembly can also on their own say, okay, this issue has become, so problematic that we need to pass laws regulating it.
Do you think then, given the importance of this justice delivery system, the penal code and the criminal code, is it a waste of time of sorts, some say, we should be focusing on amending these laws instead of going for this constitutional amendment? Mr. Akiri says, look, it's a safe haven for members of the National Assembly. You share the same view?
Well, amendment of laws is really not, you can't put it in a box because, look, if you look at various laws regulating telecoms, regulating whatever aspect of life, you will see that on a daily basis you need to improve them. You need to keep up with technology. You need to keep up with developments because, look, when we sit here, if we were parliament, we sit here, we enact a law. It's not possible for us to envisage every single situation that is going to occur when that law becomes operational. It is when it becomes operational then you see, oh, we didn't provide for this or we didn't foresee this situation. Take, for example, when President Yaradua, when this issue arose, he traveled abroad. He didn't leave a letter. He didn't send a letter to the National Assembly and all that. And we had a gap in our constitution. The framers of the constitution, at the time when they were framing that, they didn't envisage that problem would come, that we will be in a situation whereby the president will be so ill that he cannot even write that kind of letter to the National Assembly. So every law, whether the constitution, whether a bylaw in the local government or by a law by the State State House of Assembly, with time you need to keep. It's a work in progress.
Okay. Now, we talked about judicial discretion yesterday, and even today we talked about it. How much room does a judge have to operate in the course of interpreting a particular law? For instance, this one where the penal code said 2 years and or a fine. Yeah. How much room does a judge have to play there?
Well, you see, judicial discretion has been said that it must be exercised judiciously and judicially, which means that, look, if the law says 2 years sentence or option of fine, if the judge gives the option of the fine, then his exercise is discretion according to the law. Okay. So,
but they said and or
option of fine. Yeah. So if it now boils down to the interpretation of and or. Is it that because if you say and, right, it means that you can sentence him and in addition fine him.
That's in both.
Okay. Yeah, but if you say or,
that means
then it means he has an alternative.
Okay, now this is my question. Now, our guest I was here earlier said that fine, it has to be reasonable. For the amount of money we're talking about, 23.2 or 0.3 billion, if you were the judge, how much do you think the fine should be?
Yeah, there's no doubt that the fine, with due respect to the judge, is ridiculous. It's an affront, because if a man steals, I think they said 32 billion, I mean, it doesn't take any, you don't have to be Socrates to know that asking a man to pay a fine totaling 750 or so, 750,000 for crimes involving 32 billion is ridiculous. The fine must be commensurate with the offense.
Okay. Now, have you heard about custodian sentencing?
Yes.
Now, the judge, the counsel to the EFCC said there was an agreement with the Yakubu, John Yakubu, that he was going to plea bargain, there was going to be custodian sentence, and there was going to be a fine. Now, and the judge was also intimated about all of this. How would this have worked out if the judge had stuck by that agreement?
Well, firstly, if the EFCC, I haven't had that statement, but if they said that and the judge, now did something different, I think the first thing they should do is to appeal against what has happened, right? And secondly, to do a petition to the authorities. Now let's go to the scenario that, it's still within the judge's discretion for him to say, okay, look, I'm going to sentence you to maybe 6 months imprisonment, but you're going to forfeit 32 billion to the state. That's it. So people will say, okay, yes, it's going to jail for 6 months, but it's refunding exactly the amount it took from the treasury back into the coffers. Because what sense really does it make? A man steals 32 billion, he returns property worth about 400 million, which, in today's terms, is just one property in Abuja. You have one property in Abuja, 400 million, that's it.
Should we be talking talking of having more plea bargains for other categories of accused persons? Perhaps this would help decongest the prisons and, of course, speed up some cases in our law courts.
Of course, I subscribe to that idea, but not the way it is currently being operated. We need to set the regulations, set the parameters, so that the judges know what they are supposed to do. The prosecution and the defense also know that, yes, if we plead, if we do a plea bargain, this is what we get. And more importantly, that there is transparency and that members of the public at the end of the day will be able to know that, yes, this is what happened, and that the sentence passed at the end of the day is an appropriate one.
Well, only recently, it was yesterday, where some farmers went to The Hague, the Dutch court, and actually got some judgment. And now there's talk about the fact, again, Nigerian judiciary falling short. And this increasingly becoming the case. Aren't they concerned? Shouldn't the bar be doing something about all of this?
Yeah, it's very worrisome, especially I'm a practitioner. It's worrisome. And it's even, I believe, more frustrating for members of the public who believe that they're not getting a fair deal from the system. There is no doubt that all aspects of our justice system is in their need of urgent and speedy reform, to speed up the process, to ensure that quality people of integrity get to the right positions in all areas, in all facets. There is a dire need for reform of the process. But in Nigeria, the system itself works against itself, because if you want to reform anything, you have to go through the National Assembly.